Good evening. Namaste. So, seems to be a couple of people less. There used to be some 8 people, not 6. But it is already 6:04. So, I will continue. I will start the class. So, let us all tune ourselves within for the invocation. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavityam Karavavakai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Om Tat Sat. So, Sadhana Panjakam we were discussing. What we discussed until now, and the next shloka also, if you see, it comes in these stages. Broadly, it can be understood as getting ourselves ready for listening to the truth. Adhikaritvam, gaining the adhikaritvam, or like IIT entrance. No, to enter IIT, there is this entrance exam, JEE, right? So you start preparing from your 9th standard, and there is even a joke that when the child, like Abhimanyu in Mahabharata, when the child is in the womb of the mother, already the IIT preparation class starts. They joke like that. Huh? So like that, you have a preparation. This first shloka, listen to the Veda, do the karma and all that, purify and cultivate the desire to know the self, then seek the satsanga, develop the samadhi shakka sampatti. Like first part is vivek, cultivate the desire to know the self is the atma anatma viveka, then leaving the house or taking to a life, getting out of all the other commitments and making oneself completely available for the pursuit of self-knowledge, vairagya, and developing the inner wealth, samadhi shakka sampatti. Right? So mumukshutva is taken care. Desire for the self itself, atmecha vyavasiyatam, is mumukshutva. And when you are going through the process of upasana and everything, viveka, vairagya, etc. develops, and samadhi shakka sampatti. Yes. Now, when you make a very firm resolve and when you completely give up your karma and take to a life of sannyasa, that is I would say the maturing of the mumukshutva. And when you go and take refuge in the teacher, surrender to the teacher, it becomes a jignasa. Okay, and you are ready to listen. So you are getting ready or developing the qualification to be a student of Vedanta. Then comes Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, the process by which the self-knowledge takes place and once becomes completely established in the self-knowledge. When the mind is completely established in the self-knowledge, free from all the habitual errors, the process is Shravana, listening, and understanding while listening properly, and understanding while listening, and absorbing it, listening in the sense with an attitude that makes it possible for the words of Vedanta to facilitate a transformation of the self concept itself, allowing the words of Vedanta to resolve the illusion of individuality. That is listening. It is not simply listening, like listening to a song. Listening to the teachings of Vedanta with complete absolute pramana buddhi and surrender to the words, with complete surrender, Shraddha, right? So that way it will make its impact, and there will be some gray areas where uh, you may not understand the impact, the implication of the teaching in some context. So all those things are cleared. That is called manana, clearing of the doubts and making the knowledge very clear without free from all kinds of doubts, and completely committing to that knowledge in every aspect of one's way of life, committing the entire way of life to the process of abidance in self knowledge. That is nididhyasana. At the level of attitude, at the level of actions, at the level of behavior, at the level of social interaction, at the level of even the attitude towards basic things like eating, etc. Every aspect of life is tuned to the purpose of abidance in the self knowledge is nididhyasana. So, this is what Bhagavan Shankaracharya is telling very clearly in the 5 shlokas of Sadhana Panchakam through 40 steps. Right? This is the map. And we are right now at the stage where in our discussion we have come up to sannyasa. So after sannyasa, what one should do? Go and surrender to the Guru. Sat vidvanupasrupyatam pratidinam tatpaduka sevyatam brahmaikaksharamardhyatam shutishiro vakyam samakarnyatam. Now, Sad Vidwan Upasrupyatam. Seek refuge under the teacher who has studied properly and is established in the truth. Gurumeva bhigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtam. It comes from there. Mundaka Upanishad. Go to the Guru who is a Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta. Now these are all jargons. So what does it mean practically? I have already discussed who is a Sadguru. Sadvidwan, Sadguru. Not anybody with the title Sadguru for the sake of marketing becomes a Sadguru. There are some terms in the tradition which were used with a great care until recently, but of late they have become tools of marketing. For example, another word that is abused is Paramahamsa. No? Very familiar word, right? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Paramahamsa Yogananda. But if you see the actual serious traditional usage, nobody advertises themselves as Paramahamsa. You know, a sannyasi who was a Brahmin, a proper sannyasi who has come through the proper process, the qualified, the correct, proper qualified person who takes a sannyasa could either be a Hamsa or a Paramahamsa. The one with a kind of a stick in their hand, it's called Dandam, Dandi Sannyasi. There are various types of Dandas, Dandi Sannyasi. These are all cultural details, you don't need that. They're called Hamsa. And they leave that Danda also. And one is completely devoted only to the reflection and abidance in the truth and teaching. And that person is usually a wandering mendicant. And the person is not participating in the social things and all that. There is a huge protocol and there is a huge set of disciplines recommended for a Paramahamsa, how the Paramahamsa will live and all that. So generally any sannyasi who had come in the proper track who has reached a certain level of initiation where one is a full sannyasi and does not even carry a stick is a Paramahamsa. Okay. So that way, most of the monks, proper monks that we see are Paramahamsas. But nobody is putting Paramahamsa this, Paramahamsa that. But that is the marketing thing that started in the end of 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. Until then, it was not there. When they are referring to that person as an acharya in any, if there is a, for example, there is a function in a temple, and this Swamiji is invited to the temple for a discourse or for felicitation or for blessing the occasion with a anugraha bhashanam, etc. So when they announce their name, they will say Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya and all that, and then their Swami, that Saraswati Bharati, whatever. Okay, it's a way of adoring that person and the way of appreciating that person's presence in the place. It's a formal cultural thing. Otherwise, they never keep telling Paramahamsa this, Paramahamsa. They will say Swami this, Swami that, but Paramahamsa is understood. Okay. Similarly, Sadguru is usually referred to an acharya who is any acharya, any master who teaches about Brahman and who is supposed to be facilitating moksha in the disciples, to whom people go for wisdom teachings, for moksha, for self-realization and self-knowledge, for studying Vedanta. Right? So that person is called Sadguru. Usually, there are a lot of people who are wearing this various shiny colored clothes, these babas, tantrics, and all that. Not all of them are considered Sadguru. The Sadguru is only for a person who generally is considered or respected for their teachings on moksha. And usually it is a traditional sannyasi. Okay. And there are these other sampradayas like Nath sect and all that, where they also use the word Sadguru. So it is a common title. It's a common title respectfully used by the disciples to refer to their teacher. One does not make it like a nickname. No. So anything can be made into a nickname. For example, I use the word Yogeshvar. Yogeshvar is a nickname. It's like a pseudonym they use for it. Is not a title. Nobody gave me the title Yogeshwar. It is just a nickname. I like that name. I use it as a nickname. Somebody asks, what is this? It's a nickname, right? It's like saying somebody has a name, Mr. Parameshwaran. We say Mr. Parameshwaran means that person is not Lord Parameshwaran. It's a name. So either a person uses as there are people who has Gurumurti. There is a person called Gurumurti, an editor of a very famous magazine is Gurumurti. I have one uncle called Gurumurti. So it is a name. Dakshinamurti is a name. Sadashivam is a name. So when I say Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam, that doesn't mean Mr. Sadashivam who is living 2 streets away from me, that person is a beginner of the tradition. It does not mean that. It is just a name. So what we are talking about here as Sadvidwan is a Sadguru, means a person who is considered as a Sadguru, not simply a person who is using the name Sadguru as a label or as a marketing gimmick. Usually, a Sadguru will not refer to themselves as self-realized. Anybody whom say he is a fully self-realized master, if it is mentioned in the pamphlet, and that Guru is aware of that pamphlet and does not object to that, that person is not the right Guru. Basic rule. In Kena Upanishad, a student is asked, after the teaching, he says, have you understood? And the student says, those who have understood, those who say they have understood, they have not understood. And those who say they have not, those who say they know, they don't know. And those who say they don't know, they know. I cannot say I know, but I also cannot say I don't know. No, like that. It goes round and tells her. And there is another occasion. One king says, I will offer 100 cows to the best of Brahmanishtas, those who are established in the self, in Brahman. The best of them, I am going to give 100 cows. Now, there is no test by which you can say this person is a Brahmanishta. So, there is one sage, Yagnavalkya. He says, he comes and everybody is hesitating. How to claim the 100 cows? Because everybody has ashram. They would like some cows. But nobody is daring to say that I am the best Brahmanishta, because they know that there is a fundamental problem in telling that I am a Brahmanishta, because you cannot say that. You can say I am Brahman. I am Brahman is also understood. It's not even said, it's just understood. Right? So when you say I am a Brahmanishta, then you are identifying with a person. If you are identifying with a person, then you are not a Brahmanishta. And if you are not identifying with a person, the question will not provoke an answer from. So Yagnavalkya comes and sends his disciple, and hey, drive away all the cows to our ashram. And then he said, hey, come on, we are all waiting here. How can you do that? And the king comes and objects, no, how can you do this? So are you saying that you are the best of Brahmanishtas? And then it seems the sage replied, I am taking the cows because I need cows for my ashram. They said the king is generous enough to give 100 cows. I need cows for my ashram, so I am taking the cows. And I guess the king understood his mistake. So nobody claims oneself as self-realized master. So what we do is, when we want to take refuge in the Guru, we do a background check. A person who goes to the Guru at this stage, when a person has come up to this point in the progress of being qualified to study Vedanta, the one who has come through all the steps that we have discussed in these classes, this is a well-informed person. Surrender to the Guru is not a blind faith. It is an intelligent choice, or it is the maturity of intelligence that realizes the choicelessness in the requirement for surrendering to the Guru. I would put it like that. I had the good fortune of listening to my Acharya ji in the last a few days before, exactly on this topic. So I would like to share those points with you here about this surrender. The surrender is not a blind, it is not a blind faith or losing your mind. Only a person who is capable of a very high level of clarity at a fundamental level will be able to understand the need for surrender first. That complete Shraddha as surrender, it cannot keep happening. You cannot you cannot surrender today, you then at one place, then you go and surrender somewhere else. You cannot have multiple Shraddha. This is very important. So just hold on for a minute. So the surrender is a very important point. The Shraddha is something of the nature of growing clarity. The Shraddha is a growing, it's the Shraddha grows in its quality, and it's the result of a growing clarity. So how does the Shraddha begin? This surrender out of the blue, you cannot just go and surrender completely to a total stranger, simply because that person is wearing an orange robe and has a nice beard, and looks very serene and seems to have a lot of information and talks Sanskrit and all that. You just can't go and offer yourself. It's not possible, right? So it is something that is the result of a process that happens in many stages. First is surrender to the tradition. It is not to the acharya first. The first surrender happens to the tradition. And it happens in a very innocent way from the time of birth. This may not be the good fortune for everybody. Everybody may not be born in the tradition, having elders around ones. During one's growing up process, whoever we look up to, they inspire our Shraddha. How does a child develop its Shraddha? When we see Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, there is an entire chapter on three types of Shraddha: Tamasic Shraddha, Rajasic Shraddha, and Sattvic Shraddha. Right? So, surrender to the Guru, Sadvidvan Upasrupyatam. We are talking about a Sattvic Shraddha that is based on right understanding and that has grown over a period of time. It is a result of a inner maturity that makes Shraddha a choiceless thing. I have to surrender to the Guru. There is no choice there. But is this person my Guru? Generally, a person who has come through this entire process will have the smartness to surrender at the right place. That is why instead of demanding a person's surrender, I would say the right teacher or the right community or the teacher or the right system will facilitate the maturity in the individual that is required to facilitate the surrender. Facilitate the maturity that is required for complete surrender. We have to take it like that. So, one cannot force surrender, but one can develop the maturity that will result in surrender. So, until I surrender, what should I do? What I can do is two things. Sadvidvan is something I need to understand. So, I start within the options that I have. Right? I am not waiting for. Here, there are 2 points. The first point is Sadvidvan. I told you what is the kind of a teacher. And here, we have to be practical. While we have to be clear about what is required for me to learn about the self, I should also be practical. The teacher must be available. The teacher must be accessible. The teacher must be alive to begin with. I cannot say I will take Ramana Maharshi, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi as my Guru. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is not there anymore. You are not going to go and have a conversation with him. Unless in a very, very rare case, there is a person receiving guidance in the dreams from some siddhas and all that, because they had lived a very intense spiritual life in the past life, continuing. So all those are exceptional cases. So that cannot be discussed as part of a standard process that we are recommending for everyone. And that cannot be part of a text. These are all exceptions. Okay. So Satvidvan upasrupyatam, take refuge in and go and serve that master. Pratidinam tat paduka sevyatam means approach an accessible and a reasonably learned, wise, and a committed sadhu, teacher with some level of renunciant qualities that are observable, whose behavior, at least to a reasonable extent, matches his words, her words. Go to that person and have an attitude of readiness to serve and a readiness to submit your individuality, your ego under their care. Submit yourself under their command. Be ready to take the command. Allow their mind, allow their thinking and words to command your mind. Allow your mind to be commanded by that master and be ready to serve in whatever way you can, in whatever way that is appropriate, and in whatever way that master is okay to receive the service. Okay. Now here, one more point in approaching the Guru. So when we say upasrupyatam, approach the master, it is also telling you to be free. It is also telling you to be free from crazy fancies. You know, one of the fancies that we hear these days, especially this autobiography of yogi book, generated fancy. You know, I was also a victim of that when I was very young. A lot of seekers are a victim of that. It's a very inspiring book up to a point, but after that, you get confused. There are many books like that that trigger mystery mongering. So they say, when the disciple is ready, the Guru will come. But in nowhere in the Shastra, neither in the Shruti nor in the Smriti. Shruti means Veda, in Vedanta, in Upanishad, and not in the composed text scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Smriti, Prakarana Granthas like Sadhana Panchakam. Nowhere it says, not in one place in traditional literature, it says the Guru will come to you. It doesn't say that. Only in the Tantric tradition and all that you have this concept. In Yoga and Vedanta, it is not there. Okay, in Yoga, to some extent, the masters and the siddhas will give you visions in your dream, etc., is written in the commentary for Yoga Sutra. When it says Swadhyaya Pratishtayam Ishtadevata Samprayogaha, that is a Yoga Sutra. By being established in the self-study, in study and chanting and all that, in Swadhyaya, you will get to know, or you will come in contact with your deity, Ishtadevata. It means you will come to know what is your Ishtadevata, and also in the commentary it says the siddhas, the ascended masters and all that. There are great masters, yogis, and siddhas, the accomplished ones who are living in a different dimension, in a higher dimension. They can manifest themselves in various dimensions. Such masters do exist. They are called siddhas. They say they will give you vision, and you will get dreams about being with masters in holy places, and meeting some sannyasis, some gurus. These kind of dreams will start increasing. It's a result of Swadhyaya. Now, that is not a guru coming to you and telling you. Might get some master coming and giving you some instruction, but it will eventually lead you to a master who is physically present somewhere. That's how it has been, even in those cases, right? And this person goes to the teacher. But these are all some rare things which are mentioned here and there. But the mainstream teaching in the tradition is that you must approach the Guru. Guru meva bigachet shotriyam brahmanishtam. Mundaka Upanishad. Tadviddhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. 4th chapter Bhagavad Gita. Sadvidwan upasrupyatam pratidinam tatpaduka sevyatam. Sadhana Panchakam. Everywhere it says, go to the Guru. Don't wait for the Guru to pick you up in a market while buying vegetables. Don't wait for the Guru to come, knock in your house and say, okay, the time for you has come to renounce the world and get into the process of yoga. And then, the Babaji from Himalayas sends his disciple. They will come and take you like in that Rajinikanth movie, all these things are very nice, very inspiring. Definitely, it gives you goosebumps. But It is not the recommendation by the tradition. When you have developed the readiness and the aptitude according to the map that is provided by Sri Shankaracharya that we have here in this text Sadhana Panchakam, stop indulging in spiritual romance and in daydreaming and impractical idealism, and stop indulging in wishful thinking. Go seek the Guru to the best of your understanding and accessibility. Right? The Guru need not be the right Guru only if you climb a snowy mountain for 6 days and 6 nights, 7 days and 7 nights, and fasting and all that, braving the snowstorm. There you meet in the Himalayan cave. It doesn't have to be that. Your Sadguru could be available in your very own city. Probably in the city center, the Guru might have an ashram, like a place of learning where you can go and learn. Maybe there is a lecture arranged in some marriage hall or in some convention hall in your neighborhood. Or probably you go and you meet that person when you go to a general place of learning like Rishikesh, Sringeri, etc. So there are various possibilities. So one need not wait for some magic to happen. That is why the Acharya has given you the logic of approaching the Guru. Develop the required qualifications, and having matured in your understanding, you are ready for perfect, full, complete surrender, which is Shraddha, at the right place, at the right time, to the right person. Okay, that's what this means. So, with the available information and the resources, you are searching for your Guru, and God's grace, Bhagavato Bhaktir Dridhadhiyatam. When your bhakti, Ishvara bhakti, and surrender to Ishvara is good, it will lead you to the Guru. Ishvara Anugraha will take you to the Guru, the presence of the right Guru. That's how it is. Because this entire process is driven by the unseen hand of divine grace. And with the result of enormous good karma accumulated from thousands and thousands of lives, that's what brings you even in the proximity of this teaching. Okay. So that punya and the God's grace will take care of this process. All we have to think of is making ourselves ready and being open to the information about the gurus and all that available. And when we hear about the master, when it strikes a chord, somewhere in the gut it feels right, just go and see how it is. Go with an openness, go with the readiness to serve and all that, and take your time until to the point where the context is inspiring enough for your maturity level to surrender. Right? Until developing the maturity required for surrender, you don't have to surrender to the Guru. The system will take care. As long as you go through the system provided by the tradition, you will arrive up to this point. If you have arrived up to this point properly, surrender to the Guru is not something that needs too much of discussion. The right place, the right time, and the right process, and the readiness, everything will fall in place. It's like a magic. It is not magic, but like magic. Everything will come together automatically. So you will not have any doubt there. It will be pretty clear. Okay. So this process, what is this process? Is the Shraddha has to have a certain quality right from the beginning. I said we cannot have Shraddha in too many places. For example, the Shraddha we are talking about here is to the Shruti and Guru. Okay, the Veda, the Vedic tradition, the Sampradaya, and the Guru. To this alone is the Shraddha. Pramana Buddhi. Veda is Pramana. So the Shraddha comes to the point where first the Shraddha comes to the people who inspire you, the people from the tradition who inspire you, through them some kind of Shraddha develops. Just like how a child has complete faith in the mother, it's ready to be taken care. It does not resist the care that is given. It's completely open. Hmm? So if the child has some good karma, it has good parents, good home, and everything. The child doesn't have good karma, that soul whoever has taken birth will end up in the wrong place, in the wrong time, in the wrong family, in the wrong clan, and then may go through some trouble. Then there is childhood trauma, then you overcome that. Then probably you develop Shraddha with a therapist and all that. So somewhere, wherever you have gained, if you really look back, when we really look back, this far we have come to the point of listening to this discourse, to be part of this discussion. We have experienced some Shraddha somewhere, and that is exactly why you are spending time here listening to this. So if you look back at the history of your Shraddha, from where it inspired Shraddha, you have to see how. Usually it is from a person who inspires trust and confidence, where I am able to confide in that person, where I feel that this person will guide me and take me to the next level. This person will help me to deal with my issues. Somewhere like that it starts. Suppose it starts from the family, it starts by looking at your elders, you know, uh, uh, the father is doing Sandhya Vandanam, the mother is preparing for that, the family, the festivals. The entire Hindu culture inspires Shraddha from childhood. And if you are into if you are into a family lineage where your Upanayana and everything is there, then that whole process is there. And then the elders are supposed to inspire that Shraddha in you. And also you carry the certain level of ability to have Shraddha. The ability to have Shraddha is a certain samskara that we carry from past life. The same family, there are two kids. One kid has a lot of Shraddha, the other kid is only skepticism, no Shraddha. It's possible. Why? It is because of the samskaras carried from past life. So that does have a role to play. Your upbringing has a role to play in your Shraddha. Your exposure to the elements connected to the teaching, the context where you came in touch with the teaching, the impact it had on you, and the result it gave you, and the interactions that follow that, they also have a role to play in your Shraddha. Like that, your Shraddha matures. If it has brought you to the point where you are able to have some kind of trust that, the Veda is the Vedic tradition, and the Veda are only telling me what is good for me. It never tells me anything meant for putting me in distress or in more slavery or bondage. All that it says is for my own good. This much Shraddha. They say Veda Mata. Veda is like a mother. So, like how I go to the mother, my mother when I was a child, where I go to the mother with complete openness and readiness to be nourished by her, I go to the Veda and the Vedic tradition with the readiness to be nourished by Veda Mata. And I allow my body, my prana, my mind to be shaped by the methodologies and the disciplines given by the Vedic tradition. Shraddha grows like that. And I do see some results time to time. And then I hear from, what is called Apta Vakya. I hear from those who have inspired Shraddha in me, those who have inspired some kind of a faith and trust in me. From them, I hear about certain things, certain benefits that have come to some people who have followed this lifestyle. So that inspires Shraddha in me. No, it's like reading the testimonials and reviews before buying a product. No, like that, we hear some trustworthy reviews and testimonials from the people around, and my Shraddha grows. And I also see the practical result of me following the discipline, and that resulting in uh, certain practical observable benefits connected to my health, connected to my well-being, connected to my quality of mind, etc. And I also see that a certain set of people who have allowed themselves to be disciplined by the Vedic tradition, they perform very well in so many other secular areas of life also. Then that inspires me. There is a certain difference in the level of vibe, the level of sattva, the light, and the shine that you feel when you go to such places where there is a lot of chanting. You know, when you go to a temple or into a yajna shala or into an ashram where everybody is following a very good discipline, and there is a lot of chanting and there is a lot of puja and a lot of study and reflection and meditation going on, you feel a certain serenity, feel a certain presence. All that comes, so that gives you a kind of a trust and confidence in the whole approach and the method and the body of knowledge. And the wisdom is very inspiring. And it is based on knowledge. So you are required to study. And the more you study, the more it inspires faith and trust and confidence in you. Right? So in this process, the Shraddha keeps developing, and to the point where I have what is called Pramana Buddhi. I can know myself only through the words of Vedanta. Because I am not an object of any perception. I already experience myself, but I just don't know. I think of myself in a certain way that doesn't seem to match with what the Veda says. No, it says Tattvamasi, you are that. No, you are that supreme being in essence. But I feel like an individual. I feel small. I feel limited. Why? Right? So I am experiencing myself. So there's something to do with knowing myself. So I understand the whole process of self-realization is about knowledge. It's not about attainment. If the truth about me is uncaused and eternal, the eternal cannot be attained in time with effort. Nasti akrita kritena. So there is something missing here. I need to understand properly, because the Veda says in so many places that because I have studied the Veda, because I have done some study before, I understand that in so many places it says the one who realizes that self crosses the ocean of sorrow, attains eternal life in so many ways. You know, the real comfort, the real happiness is only in realizing the infinite. Yo vai bhuma tadvai sukham, na alpe sukham asti. There is no sukham or true happiness and peace in what is limited. But if it is already unlimited, if it is unlimited, then I cannot attain it through limited effort, because whatever effort I am putting is limited. So I need to understand what is going on here. So I need somebody to teach me and help me understand. And this person seems to have understood, seems to have gone through the process. So please help me understand. Adihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. You know, please teach me about Brahman. We have this entire process. Upasrupyatam, Sadvidwan, Upasrupyatam. So when I recognize this, a person who inspires the confidence that I can trust this person to impart that knowledge to me, I am ready to surrender. Now here, the next line says, Tat Paduka Sevyata. Worship his feet, worship the Guru's feet every day, or worship his sandals. Paduka means the sandal slippers every day. Now, it might sound very dramatic. It sounded very dramatic for me also. No, I used to tease, even today, sometimes I tease, oh, they're doing pedicure for the Guru. They do this Pada Puja because of my urban upbringing and all that. There is some kind of resistance to this Pada Puja and all that. So my Guru will say, because you have resistance, you have to do Pada Puja. So then I do. But it's not that natural flow, that sentimental involvement that comes about. I do experience, I do feel surrender when I do namaskara and all that. There's no problem. Completely submitting my mind to the instructions of the Guru, no problem. But somehow this worshipping the feet, it doesn't gel with my system because I have not been brought up like that. I have not culturally inculcated that process. But I can logically appreciate that, and whatever I can logically appreciate that allows me to do that, I can share with you. See, behavior reflects attitude. Also, a behavior cultivates an attitude, or it shows me the lack of attitudes. Okay. If I am not having the attitude that corresponds to a certain behavior, when I exhibit that behavior, I will not feel integrated. I will feel split inside. Right? When I see somebody is not worthy of the respect, and I was told to do prostration and fall at their feet and take their blessings, I feel odd. I may do it for a social convention, but I will not feel comfortable inside. But if I am completely comfortable with that person, I will have no problem touching their feet. Now, why is this touching the feet? For example, what they call as body language. I'll give an example. For example, let's say you go and meet a person and you extend your hand and say hi. The emotion, the feeling, the way you connect with the person is different, right? Your individuality is not ready to submit. Now, if you say namaste, the impact and the distance between you both and the dignity there, the dignity of namaste is not there, is not the same as the dignity that a hello has. Each one is different, each one is beautiful in its own way, but each one serves a purpose, right? So when the general comes, there is a hierarchy. When the general comes, the soldier makes a salute, right? There is that readiness to take order, salute. You are above, I am below. Hierarchy, clear establishment of hierarchy, right? So similarly, there is a hierarchy of knowledge when I go to the Guru. So my behavior should reflect that. When it comes, the Guru is the giver, I am the receiver, and I am very clear about that. This clarity should reflect in my behavior. So if I have this clarity, I will not have a problem exhibiting a behavior that reflects this, that carries this clarity in it. Now, traditionally, if they ask us to do something, it is not simply a ritualistic gesture, it has a very deep energetic meaning also. Traditionally, they will not give all this explanation. They will say, do namaskar. There ends the matter. But I will have to tell this because, we are all coming from so many different backgrounds and we have this so much of exposure to so many things. We will have to understand it in so many angles so that we appreciate the practice of worshipping the Guru's feet every day. We appreciate it for what it stands. We understand and appreciate it for what it is, right? So energetically, when I am ready to place my hands and head, when I am ready to place myself, the idea of myself is usually tied to my body. Okay, until I am a enlightened person, my idea is completely tied to my body. So physically, when I place my body at the feet of the master, I am placing my sense of self at the feet of the master. The feet of the master is the lowest point of the idea of the master connected to that body. So when I place myself under the feet, I am placing myself completely under him, under his protection, under his grace. And I am also open to receive the grace. They say the grace flows from top to down, from so and also the master's feet, the paduka of the master refers to the path he has walked in. So when I am giving importance to the feet and to the sandals, I am giving more importance to the path that he has walked. that are resulted in the wisdom that he is going to impart to me, rather than to the personality. No, the normal functional personality, the egoistic personality, the whatever is there, practically there has to be a functional ego, otherwise the person will not function. So the personality of the master is not my main concern, but my devotion is to the fact that he is capable of teaching me, and he carries the weight of the entire tradition in him, and that is represented by his feet, both energetically and philosophically. So I allow myself to submit entirely at the feet of the master, to prostrate dandavate, means I am ready to fall flat at the feet of the master and worship his feet. Every day, they say when you see the guru, you should do a full, a full prostration like a stick. When you drop a stick on the ground, like that, you should do a full prostration. So this is for men. Women should do a prostration is panchangam, where the knees, the elbows, hands, and forehead, their chest should not, touch the ground. So they do a namaskar kneeling down. They place their top of the head. Women are supposed to do like that. Generally, for men, it is like you fall like a stick, right? So that is the namaskar. And to worship the padukas means there is a proper way of worshipping the sandals of the guru. There is this ritualistic. There are certain sandals blessed by the guru and given, and people worship them in a ritualistic way. There are many people who have the sandals blessed by Sri Shankaracharya. They have in their home, and they worship it. Today I heard about a puja for the sandals of one famous Siddha Guru, uh, which was brought to a certain school, and there was a big worship around New Year. A family has been preserving that. A family, a lineage, a family who comes in the lineage, those who have served that guru personally, so they have been maintaining his sandals, and they are, it's a wooden sandal with a silver plate and all that. They maintain it like that so that it can be passed generation after generation. So that is supposed to carry the presence of the master and all that. So it is a part of the tradition, and it does carry some mystic significance. But I don't want to go too much into the mystic part. I would rather go more into the philosophical part, which is basically representing the path the guru has walked, which I also am going to walk. That wisdom I am surrendering. That is the symbolic thing. And but when I do that, that behavior will cultivate the attitude that allows me to submit my entire individuality, the structure of my ego, my personality, my individuality, everything I am readily to place under him, for him to do what he wants with it for the sake of self-knowledge. Right? Everything is available. I am bringing it under your care. I am surrendering it to you. Please liberate me from samsara. So that is what is the meaning. Pratidinam tatpad, every day worship his faith. Pratidinam tatpaduka sevyatam. Also be ready to do some seva. For example, they say in Samit Panihi, in Upanishad it says, the student comes to the teacher with a handful of twigs for maintaining the fire, the ritualistic fire. Because he comes from the Vedic tradition, it's a symbol. Like how in Japanese tradition and Chinese tradition, they say, they make a tea for the master. If the master uh, takes the tea made by the student and drinks the tea, he has accepted him as a disciple. I have seen in these kung fu movies. I don't know how much true is that. Maybe the Japanese people here can enlighten me. So the making tea to the master, serving tea to the master, and the master accepting the tea is a sign that he has accepted you as a disciple in Japanese and Chinese tradition, I think. So similarly, in the Vedic tradition, the student goes with with the twigs for the sacrificial fire. Now the yajna, he takes the samit, it is called. Samit means the small twigs which you touch in ghee and offer in the fire with mantras in a homa. Right? So the student takes that. So readiness to serve. The guru, seeing the readiness in the disciple to serve and the humility, gets the right state of mind and gets the right intention and the gracefulness. It flows in him and allows him to teach. He sees, okay, he is fit for learning, and then he instructs him about the self. Nowadays, it is very fast. You just go to an ashram, and then if it is not a very traditional ashram, you just go and enroll in a course and learn. That's all fine. But once you become a real disciple of the guru, then you go through the other processes also of namaskara, pada puja, and all that in a traditional ashram. However, in very puritanic situations, especially in the past, before Vedanta came to the marketplace, a disciple goes to the guru and just surrenders and starts serving. That's about it. Keeps on serving. And then the guru says, okay, you do this. And then whatever is the command of the guru, he takes it and serves. So one guru told his disciple, take these cows, 10 cows or whatever, graze them and take care of these cows until they become 100, and after that you come back. He goes around, takes care of the cows. After the cows become 100, he comes back, and when he comes back, the guru sees, his face glowing with the light, and then he teaches him the knowledge of the self. There is another guru who said, okay, serve me for 12 years, then we will see. So after 12 years, the guru tells one instruction. Then the disciple goes to meditate on it and comes back after 12 more years, and then another instruction, 12 more years, and then finally the person is taught the real knowledge. So like that, we have stories in the tradition. So why is this readiness to serve? Because I have to outgrow my personality. I have to clear my past. And the process of becoming available entirely, completely, and integrally to the words of the teacher, to submit myself to the force of the grace that comes from the teacher in the form of teaching and in the form of the prana and everything. In order to be completely available, I will have to clear the past baggage. This past baggage clears when I am totally letting go of everything and serving the teacher. It is not just the cultivation of attitude, it is also cultivation of the readiness of my background mind, cultivation of the readiness at my prana and at my instinct level. At the instinct level, I bring my readiness. So that's what this Tat Paduka Sevyatam. Every day worship the Guru's feet and serve him, serve the Guru, helps me to clear all the past baggage and make myself integrally, completely, entirely available to submit myself to the force of the teaching. Then, when the Guru sees the readiness and is available, and I see that I can ask him, what should I ask the Guru? That is told in the next two sages. I ask him about the indestructible Brahman. And then when the Guru teaches, I listen very carefully with the right attitude, with the complete pramana buddhi, I listen to the teaching. Shrutishiro Vakyam, where the Mahavakya, it explains about the oneness between the self and the Ishvara, and that reveals the truth about the absolute self. When I listen to that in the right way, and I internalize it, Shravana, and then it goes on like, okay. So we have seen what this means. We have some questions based on the last class. And also there is a question here. I'll see if I can deal with that. In the last class, the person, based on last class, one person asked about Uparama, and let me get to the question. It's about, householder buddhi. Can you elaborate more on that? When I meant householder buddhi, here this person says, I understand you are referring to the luxurious preferences in life in general, such as I can't feel at ease unless that is in a certain way. But I think there are many things that I take for granted. Okay. So I would like to understand more clearly. Even without luxury, we still need to cook and do housework every day. So I would appreciate if you could talk a little more about householder buddhi. See, doing the work necessary to maintain the house that provides you with the basic facilities that allows you to concentrate on your spiritual growth process is one thing. Deriving an entire identity from the house and holding on to the I and mind. When I say householder buddhi, there are two things in this. One is the attitude of I and mind being stamped on everything. Whatever they touch, they cannot touch it without I and mind. This is one. Another, any discomfort, they try to find external solution. There is a less tendency to look at oneself. Anything they want to make it, it is always thought based on creating the creature comforts. There is less tendency to look at oneself, and there is more tendency to look at the things and rearranging the things to find the comfort based on things. The psychological dependency on things and people and ownership, so that is grahastha buddhi. I and mine mainly, that is the grahastha buddhi. But it cannot be explained. It is a certain thing. When I see from outside, I recognize grahastha buddhi. It is something like an artistic attitude. How can I explain artistic attitude? A sannyasa buddhi is very different from grahastha buddhi. A buddhi of a jignasu or a sannyasi is very different from a grahastha buddhi. It's something like an artistic attitude. How can I explain artistic attitude? So like that, probably, practically when I see something and it strikes me, I will make a note of it and come and explain in the class. But otherwise, it is a certain background attitude towards life and situations and things, and an attitude that pushes you to handle challenges and situations in a certain way that makes you more bound to structures and more bound to structures, people, and situations. A way of dealing with life that creates more bondage. That is grahastha buddhi. A way of dealing with situations that reinforces your sense of I and mine. That is grahastha buddhi. And there is comparison, contrast, competition. All those things are there. But in a sannyasa buddhi, generally there is no competition. There is no looking for approval from another person. That is another important aspect of grihastha buddhi or a householder attitude. There is constant, what will they say, what will they think? I don't know what is the image that I am having created. This is all grihastha buddhi, and these problems are not there for a sannyasi. That self-importance, all those things, it's a combination of so many things in the background that gives a certain way of being that people with sannyasa attitude can spot in the crowd. Hey, this fellow is, the moment the person walks in, we know this is a grihastha. Head to toe, this person has grihastha buddhi. Somehow, you can find it. It's like an artist who is a natural inspired artist. When he sees another person trying to use techniques and make an art, he says this person doesn't have art in them. They're only using, there is person has skill but has no art. How is an artist able to say that? You know, it's something like that. It's something like that. I cannot tell it uh, uh, in a very precise manner through words, but the central point is I and mine, stamping everything with I and mine and looking for external approval and cultivating the sense of identity based on the things that you own and the space that you maintain and the air that you carry. Based on all that, the self definition and the self image and your psychological comfort comes. That is some, these are some markers of grahastha buddhi. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not about everyday chores that are required to maintain a healthy lifestyle that supports our uh, process of learning and growing spiritually. No, it's not that. Not the things that are required to maintain our tapasya and study. That's not what I'm talking about. Even a formally renounced monk has to do some activities. He has to take bath. He has to do some basic sadhana. He has to go and beg for the food or go and take a food from ashram. So these things are required even for a sannyasi. So it's not that. It's not the activity itself, but it is the attitude and the state of and the way of being with which one meets life situations. So now I'll go to the next question, which is there in the Zoom. Although I value spiritual learning and aspire toward liberation, I struggle with discipline and reducing desires, as I genuinely enjoy material comforts, including good food. Is the practice of discipline and desirelessness essential for spiritual and personal growth? See, discipline and desirelessness is essential, but we can define what is the discipline and what is the desirelessness based on the person. That is why we have adhikari beda. So what could be desirelessness as defined for a householder? For example, there is brahmacharya. The practice of brahmacharya is defined differently for a married person, and it is defined differently for a student, and it is defined differently for a sannyasi. The practice of everyday anushtana, you know, anushtana means everyday spiritual discipline. It is defined differently for different levels of sannyasis, and it is defined differently for a householder. It defined differently for each community person from each jati or varna. It is different based on the sattva, rajas, and tamas combination in a person, the inner nature of the person, and the most natural tendencies and samskaras of a person. Based on that, the guru can define discipline and desirelessness at the practical level for specific life contexts that are challenging the person's growth. There are specific contexts that challenge a person's inner growth, and for those contexts, we can custom define a desirelessness and discipline for those contexts for that person. That's how it is done. It's very individual specific. It is generally category specific, and within the category, individual specific. So that's how it is done. I think it's not Japanese tradition, that tea. Okay, thank you. But I've seen in Chinese movies, so I guess it's Chinese. So with this, I will conclude the class. Any questions from this class? After it is uploaded, you can listen again and ask, and we will go further on the discussion. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tatsat.